I'm Maria Elizabeth Mully, and this is Relationship Alchemy. Today, I'm speaking with Ken D. Foster about the courage to step into your greatness. Ken D. Foster is a keynote speaker, best-selling author, most recently of The Courage to Change Everything, business strategist, and news personality. He owns a broadcast and media production company, and he's the executive producer and host of the Voices of Courage show, which is syndicated on TV, podcast networks, plus radio, and broadcast in 185 countries. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here with you, having this conversation today. I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too. I'm so excited to talk about this topic of courage because I really think it's at the core of the difference between what makes a great life and not a great life. So I'd love to hear a bit about what led to the courage to change everything, your new book, and how you came to be such a strong spokesman for courage.
Well, I'm very self-reflective. I've been a meditator for 3 decades, and I've done a lot of personal work. And as I was reviewing what was going on in my life, I realized that every choice that I've ever made from fear has cost me sometimes dearly and sometimes just a little bit. But every choice has cost me a challenge. It's caused problems in my life. And I thought, what we need in this life, what I needed in this life, sometimes we write what we need to learn, is courage, right? I needed to step into that place and live from that on a continuous basis. And for me, along the way, I really tuned into my courage. And I found that, like everybody, I have courage, but it was undeveloped to the point where I wanted to develop it in a much greater way, be able to go out and make better choices, stick with things in a greater way, and create more joy and wealth and happiness, not only in my life, but in the lives of millions of people. So that's where the book came from. And it's a powerful book. It's the reason I wrote it also is called Daily Strategies and Essential Wisdom. Because I don't know about you, but I need courage every day.
Yeah.
To refocus my mind on the things that bring me courage every single day. So that's why I wrote it.
I so agree with you. It's a daily practice. And I'm wondering, what are some of the key, if someone wanted to get started turning their life in a more courageous direction, what would be a key practice to begin with?
Well, I always like people to get out of denial. I've been coaching for 28 years and, kind of get into reality, right? So usually where I start with people is I just ask them, on a scale of 1 to 5, tell me what your financial life is like. Tell me about your relationship life. How is your relationships with your family, with your significant other, with your friends? How's that going? Your health, your fitness, your career, your fun life, your life purpose. We just start there. We just start to say, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, where am I here? From there, we can get clear. Because if you're, let's say, a 1 or 2 or a 3, it's good to take it to a 5, right? On everything. It's funny how many people won't take it to a 5. They'll rate themselves less. They're like bodybuilders, athletic, totally fit, and they'll give themselves a 4. I'm like, that's interesting.
What do you think that's about?
I think we've been programmed that way, to think that there's always something more. We could always strive for more. We could always be better, as opposed to living in the moment and going, in this moment, in this exact place I am today. Yeah, I am a 10. I'm feeling really good. So it's about self-acknowledgement. It's about self-esteem many times. That's what I think.
I agree with you. I feel like we don't acknowledge and celebrate enough where we are, even as we are clear about ways that we want to grow. To me, it's a both and.
Well, it's interesting because everything is energy, right? Everything.
Yes.
And if we're caught, and a lot of people use the mind in the wrong way, right? We all have fearful thoughts. So what? But a lot of people have those thoughts and we start to focus on them. I know I sure did early in my life, right? Yeah. I was worried about what wouldn't happen and thinking about what what are the worst outcomes that could happen, as opposed to thinking about the goodness and being grateful and living from that side and thinking about what's possible here. What's really possible if I stay over on this side? If I had the courage to accomplish whichever dream I want, right? What are the 3 steps I could take to accomplish that? Start using the mind in that direction and stepping into our courage more and more. So courage, by the way, just one more point. Courage is not just a word. It's not just a thought. It's actually, the Latin word is cur, which means to speak one's truth. That's the start of it. But courage is an action, and it's a feeling inside of us. There's a feeling, it's an energy, it's a power. And when we tap into it, it blows off our limitations.
That's so gorgeous. I love that. And I want to highlight the power of what you described in terms of using the mind more effectively by asking those what if and what becomes possible, and these questions that get us out of the worst case scenario, which is really just the habit.
Well, my first book I wrote that I had no idea how to write a book, but I finally wrote it, and it became a _1 overall bestseller on Amazon. Then I was picked up by our publisher, Wiley, and it's called Ask and You Will Succeed. It's 1,001 ordinary questions to create extraordinary success, right? And so by writing that book, I really started to understand the power of question. And if you ask a question, well, why am I never going to succeed? Well, you'll get the answer, right?
Yeah, our minds will build that in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you ask a question like, what's the quantum breakthrough that I need to have in my relationship right now to take it to the next level? Now, you may not have that. You go like, I can't get that. I don't know what that is. That's okay. You can ask another powerful question, but stay in that question. Ask another one. What are the 3 steps that I could take today to make my relationship better with myself and with my significant other? That's how we change.
Beautifully said. And it's that willingness, as was it Rilke who said, you have to live in the questions themselves. It's that willingness to live in the question and let the question open your mind to more possibility, is what I'm hearing you say, that more possibility becomes possible for us to see with the right questions.
Well, that's absolutely 100% true. And the quality of the questions will, of course, determine the quality of your relationship and the quality of your life, right? So if you start to understand how the mind works and how we tap into our subconscious, our conscious and superconscious mind, then when that happens, all of a sudden the world opens up. Instead of, I've been teaching people for years how to see the unseeable and know the unknowable and do the impossible. If we have the blinders on and you think life is just this way and that's just the way it is, then that's a challenge, right? Because what's happening is, of course, it's designed perfectly. Listen, if you just have the blinders on and you keep going down that road and you're getting poor results, right? What'll happen is you'll get a little tap, then you'll get a little bang, then you'll get a little baseball bat over here. You'll eventually wake up, okay? Whether we're talking relationships or health or fitness or in business, it really doesn't matter. But here's the cool thing, right? Don't wait for the bang. Look at the results you're getting right now and be honest. That's where the gold is, right? Every day, daily strategies, daily questions, right? And, at the end of the day, ask 3 questions at the end of the day. What worked? What didn't work? And where can I improve tomorrow? And I guarantee your relationship in your life will get better.
Oh, those questions will change your life completely. I understand. I love the free gift that you've chosen because it's called the release process. And I want you to talk a bit about that because as I think about courage, there's what we need to do to cultivate more courage, but there's also things we inevitably end up needing to release to be able to step into more courage. So can you talk about the importance of letting go?
Absolutely. Listen, again, it starts with the results you're getting right now. Really get honest with yourself in the different areas of life that we talked at the beginning of the show. And if you're getting mediocre or dismal results, or even results that you just don't want, you want to go higher, there's something inside that's blocking you. Okay. We all came into this world, and I don't know if it's been proven scientifically, but I've been around enough children to see we all come in with genius, right? We're just these little geniuses that come in the planet. But what happens? Well, we get trauma, we get drama, we get hurts, we get guilted on or shamed or made wrong, or, all this stuff. So these little souls come in, but there's like this little rust over the soul. Okay. It's like a rust. And that rust is what I just mentioned. So we want to be able to take that off by choice. This is choosing, right? How easy is it to let go of someone that's, or forgive someone that's harmed you? Well, for some of you, it takes years, but it takes instant, because they understand the process. They understand why. So I'm not making you wrong. If it takes you years, that's okay. You'll get to being able to do it instantly. But eventually, we have to go within the subconscious mind and pull out what's down there to be able to release it. See, whatever you acknowledge, you can change. Anything you acknowledge that's underneath, you can change, you can let go of, you can release, you can grow, you can do that. So as you mentioned earlier, I'm kind of the guy, I wrote the book on questions, and I'm a master at asking the right questions to help you dive into the subconscious, to be able to acknowledge it, release it, and rise back up to the surface. And when people do this release process, it's been around for about 20 years now. Thousands of people have done this release process. And I can't tell you, every single person, I can tell you this, every single person that comes back to me says life has changed. Life has gotten better. And it doesn't necessarily happen instantly. It might happen 3 days later, a week later, 2 weeks later. But all of a sudden they're like, oh, things have changed for me. And of course, as you know, Mary Elizabeth, as within, so without. What we carry, we project into the world. You carry anger, you project anger, you attract angry people in your life. You think everybody in the world is angry. So we can release that.
Yeah, we can. And even that takes a bit of courage too, to be willing to go look into the subconscious and see as best we can, see what's operating, like what is at the core of my operating system that's actually setting up the projections, the results I'm having, the places where I limit myself. That takes courage, and it takes courage to do the process. I'm excited to do this release process myself because it sounds amazing. And it's, I want to come back to this idea of courage and the importance of courage and how central it is, because, well, I've often been called courageous, and I don't really see myself as a particularly courageous person, but I'm willing to change, and I'm willing to do things that further my growth, my joy, my impact, my love in my relationship. I'm surrendered to that. So to bring it down again into daily practices, perhaps what's one of the daily practices you suggest? I love the questions that we've already talked about. Is there another practice that people?
I like to give everybody a little practice that will build your courage. All right. Starting today. So for the next 7 days, I'd like you to commit to doing something you've never done before. One thing you've never done before for 7 days. Okay. It can be go to the grocery store and buy a food you've never tried before. It can be go and apologize to somebody that you need to apologize to. It can be get up in the morning and go out and exercise. Okay. It's something that let's say you haven't never woken up at 4 a.m. to go exercise. Go do that. Right. Do something you've never done before if you want to develop your courage. And at the end of 7 days, what's going to probably happen for you is you're like, wow, you know what? I did that. What else can I do? You probably want to carry it on. And eventually, when you get to a certain level, you'll not only be able to do things you've never done before, you'll be able to do things that nobody's done before. Okay. That's courage. Now, listen, the most courageous thing we can do is change ourselves.
Amen.
And you changed yourself. You've done your work to change this world because it's all energy. You tune in, you change. It's a holographic universe. You are changing people, places, and things around you by holding that positive energy within your own heart. Now, I'm sure we can prove that. We've just got 3 Nobel Prize winners for entanglement theory. We're seeing everything's entangled, right? We're showing that on a scientific level, but a metaphysical level, we've known this for eons, right? So change yourself to do your job to change the world. That takes courage. It takes courage to look at those areas that we don't want to change, right? We just don't. I mean, maybe you got an addiction. Maybe you've got an anger issue. Maybe you've got a depression issue. Maybe you've got an overeating issue. Maybe you've got, you just feel like a failure issue, right? This isn't how we were meant to live. This is just how we got programmed, our mind. And the good news is you can rethink it, you can reprogram it, you can react, and you can change your life. I just met a guy at next door here, the place I'm staying. He went from, he lost half his weight. He was 378 pounds and halved it, right? He did that through the principles that I'm teaching. I didn't do it with him, but one of my buddies did. Okay, the same principles, to be able to change that, what he thought was unchangeable. So we all have an energy, you know that. And it's just a matter of, are we willing to step into our courage to change?
That is the question, right? The willingness. And I want to highlight that question that's so skillful. As you were talking, you said, after the 7 days of this practice, your mind will naturally turn to, wow, I did that I've never done before. What else can I do? What else becomes possible? And again, training our minds to be in that space of possibility instead of stuck in the past, instead of stuck in the limitation, makes everything possible, is what I'm hearing you say.
And by the way, listen, I'm not teaching something that I haven't realized in my own life. This is what I learned and realized. And I'll just say, when I was about 50 pounds overweight at one point, and I thought, and this just happened to me, but what happened is I cut out red meat, and I just cut out that one thing. And what happened is my mind went crazy. Where am I going to get my protein? What am I going to eat? What am I going to do? And all that led me to go into the grocery store and start looking for different things. That led me to a teacher that taught me how to eat healthy and vital and in all kinds of ways. That taught me another teacher to start eating organic. I mean, it changed everything, my lifestyle. The weight dropped off and I started running marathons. I mean, come on. So,
wow.
Okay. All that, it didn't happen overnight. It took, it was a step-by-step process. But when we're committed to going, let me try something completely new that I've never done before. Wow. Life changes. Life changes. So I've applied that principle in just about every area of my life, including writing this book, Courage to Change Everything. And by the way, they can get that book at couragetochange.us. couragetochange.us.
Perfect. And we also have the link to the release process down below in the show notes, as well as your website links for Voices of Courage, your social media handles. So to learn more about Ken and get into his world, go down in the show notes, click the links, check out all the amazing work that he's up to. It's really been my pleasure, deep pleasure to talk with you today. I so love that we were connected by Jackie Woodside, who's also been on the podcast. And this Voices of Conscious folks, going out in the world is so important. And I'm happy to be connected with you.
Well, I'm so happy to be connected with you, Mary Elizabeth. And I know that we need hundreds of thousands of these voices into the world. And I commend what you're doing on the podcast to be able to be one of those voices that is making a difference in so many people's lives and up-leveling their lives by putting out the positive messages that you do. So thank you so much for having me, Grant. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for being a voice of courage on the planet. It's so needed. So do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with people before we go?
My final thoughts would be, there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of challenges going on in the world. The world is going through a lot of upheavals. And of course, it has gone through upheavals over time, right? So my advice to you would be to turn off and tune in. Turn off as much media as you can. Tune into your own inner wisdom. Start learning how to be still, be quiet, and ask the right questions. Leonardo da Vinci said, isolation is the price of greatness. The great sage Yogananda said that says stillness is the price of greatness. Combine isolation with stillness and step into your greatness. That's what it's all about.
Oh, thank you. So there you have it, folks. Get still. I love that. Tune out, drop in. No, you didn't say drop in. Was it? Tell me again exactly.
Tune in.
Yeah, okay.
Drop out.
Turn off out.
Tune in.
Okay, turn
off. Tune in. Yeah, it's like, drop out of the societal programming. Tune into your inner guidance and enjoy your life. Have some fun here.
Yes, let's have some fun. Thank you so much for being here today. And remember, everyone, until next time, that a great relationship starts with you and it begins with how you relate to yourself. Thank you.